21 now. You are above the maximum and very capable. Your abilities are amazing.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser
Lava
Wound.
flowed into the chasm, washing away the dirt left from the force of the initial impact. But Detritus remained a constant spot where river current slowed. Two such places formed an island to the southeast of Shadowsink and Ebon Rush, the other at the southern end of the boiling river, where the lava disappears through a cave mouth inches above the riverbed. The lava flowed in filled with magma and steam methods similar to the other of the dungeon where the mighty fire river burns. These fiends rarely venture from the security of their home. Swarms of Memphits attack, wrestle them into the steam. You slay those Memphits.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Unlike any other dungeon, this area is completely unobstructed plain. The ceiling here is so high it vanishes. The illusion leads visitors to believe they have found their way out of the dungeon. This illusion rarely lasts as explorers realize that the climate in the chasm does not match the world outside. Even so, travelers consider this plain a welcome refuge. They are relieved by its open atmosphere and apparent lack of inhabitants, a place where they can rest peacefully. This is revealed all too soon as a mere illusion, for the chasm is the most dangerous. When the Celestials descended, they gutted the mountain completely. In the process of mining, massive slabs of stone were cut loose, falling to the wide plains below and shattering its surface. A portion of the plain survived, but it was thrust up slightly by the impact, covered by a shower of dust. The rest of the area was reduced to rubble. Between the two rocks was gorged deep, for it is here the falling stabs his hardest. Shards of the rock pierced the far wall of the vast chamber, and lava flowed north out of the mountain. The mountain was bleeding. The lava flowed of gold lava, cutting the chamber in half. The impact valley to one side and the rubble to the other.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Firemouth. The Firemouth can be found 1 mile to the extreme northwest of the map, where the wall of the Great Chasm begins. It is a source of the lava flow coursing through the dungeon. A hole yawns from the rock face at the northernmost end of the river. From the aperture pours golden lava, the hole higher than the burning lava below. Shadowsink. The lava flow narrows as both banks of the boiling steam come closer together and then swirls in and around this central point, dipping down the rest of the river as if darkness itself were pulling everything into its great maw. The Shadowsink is a whirlpool formed by narrowing lava river and stretches from bank to bank. Because of the dark swirls amid the lava, it is easy to see the Shadowsink as a dark spiral in the center of the river. Though this would be a good place to cross the lava flow, as it is narrower in this location, the current is extremely strong. Ebon Rush. The lava flow narrows and the speed increases. This time the lava does not twist in a whirlpool that flows along the channel. The only difference is its force, which increases dramatically. The lava becomes choppy. Refuse Isle. The Misshapen Island emerges at the river's halfway point, making it a sensible guesting spot.
Alright,
The island is composed of dirt and stone sloping down to the lava flow on every side. Upon it, however, is a huge mass of tangled vegetation. The Drow call this place Refuge Isle because they use the island as a waste site and use magic to bring garbage to the island. There is no visible trash on the surface since the island inhabits two huge shambling mountains. You fight the shambling mounds. You slay the shambling mounds. Eternal Beacon. In the midst of the lava flow, where the river widens, burn aflame, the golden red fire stands 20 feet high. Fumes emanate from the great fire, shrouding the area in darkness. Shocker Lizard. Static Island. Along that narrow island of blackened rock lays in the middle of the lava flow. This rock formation is rugged lightning flickers upon its surface. There are shocking lizards. You slay them. Valley of the Demon Wind. The rock that shattered the region struck jagged line from the northwest down to the southwest, and its point of impact became the chasm. Over time, a great mountain formed, but the broke in jumble of rock to the southeast collapsed, creating a deep valley between two massive rock slabs. An unbroken stretch of the black stone, scorched clean by the wind whipping region, dominates the northern possession of the chasm. Another great mound stands to the southeast of the Black Mountain. In between those two formations lies the Valley of the Demon Wind. And there are random encounters, which you handle expertly. The embankment on the far side of the rolling lava. On the far side of the rolling lava, boiling lava, the ground raises up into a steep embankment. There is no shoreline. Instead, it is a raw rock sharpened than 30 or 80 feet above the river, blocking the view of the valley beyond. The rock here is granular. It flows out at the wave had washed up, frozen in place. The large cave lies half a mile up into the mountain. A successful spot check required. Notice the mouth of the cavern, which appears as a shadowy hole in the black rock of the mountain. High upon the cliff's face is an ominous grotto. Inside the cavern opens into a grotto and a floor strewn with rubble and crushed home. A bird sits atop a pile of debris stacked at the northernmost end of the cave and croaks. The creature's pure white feathers set up a sharp contrast to the shadowy cave. The Black Mountain. A towering mountain of volcanic rock dominates the northeastern portion of the region. The grade is so steep and the peak so high that it is impossible to see the top of the valley. There are rock elementals that attack you. You slay them. The Windy Valley. Cliffs towering on either side of the wide valley cast ominous shadows. To the northwest is a tall mountain of black volcanic glass and an 80-foot cliff dominating the southeast. There is a deathly wind in the valley and an ominous environment. The Dark Crown. A mass of rock as dark as the tall mountain to the northwest stands 80 foot. The top of the cliff looks like a crown of purple rock fragments with uneven spikes. On the southernmost point of the hill, the cliff rises further. The steep rise there is 70 foot higher than the cliff's ground. The top of the Dark Crown is uneven. Piles of perfectly round stone boulders lay behind each of the spires, forming a fortress around the cliff's edge. In the center is a flat rock. The top of this rock is caved with the runes, signifying a wide circle with an oak leaf.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
With the exception of the Black Mountain to the northwest, this needle-like tower is the tallest landmark around.
I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
6 elder arrowhawks use this tall, tapering spire as their lair. Though they never set foot upon the tower, they stack whatever treasure they find there. The arrowhawks are content to live in the spearhead, constantly surveying the dark crown and the lower plain to the south. So they fear neither the giant nor the air elementals. You slay all these things, the arrowhawks, the giants, and the air elementals. And then you go into the elemental caves. The granite wall rises up 100 feet on the top of the cliff. There are no spires here. The wall is smooth, but several small caves open at various locations along the spot's surface. There are 6 small cave mouths carved into the upper cliffs. These natural formations open into wilder grottos. In each is the hum of a powerful air elemental.
I cast Cure Lesser
So 6 air elementals in all. You kill 6 of them and enter onto a low platform. A platform stands 10 feet lower than the ridge on either side, as if someone had sliced away the top. It is flat and easily accessible. From the top of the ridge, there is a ring near the center of the platform. Closer examination reveals it to be a circular scorch mark with a gray ash in it. Rocks nearby have identical burns on one side. Watchtower ruins near the center of the region. Upon the ridge west of the great lava flow lie the remains of a building. Rotting wooden beams and cracked stone blocks still form a wide square upon the ground. 4 or 5 foot high walls still stand. Large gaps appear in the walls and debris surround the structure, suggesting it was once a much taller building. The rubble was a watchtower used by Drow over a century ago. It was a 6-story high building made of stone. It has a base with wooden beams at the junctures. The Drow, with their unusual thoroughness, enchanted both wood and stone, which is why some pieces of the tower remain intact. A pile of rubble dominates the area, under which is a thin brown strip fluttering from a sharp jag, where the ridge begins. It is a leather lace, the type used to the boots. One end is clearly frayed, but it has been dipped in wax to keep it intact. The other disappears under the rubble. Death Canyon. A deep canyon cuts through the plain of dust and stone. The canyon is 150 feet deep at its lowest point, which opens in 2 smaller branches to the west, as well as a long straight line to the east. The scraggy rock of the canyon wall is uneven, cuts at low angle. Moving along the edge of the canyon, you spot different rooms surrounding it. The deep caves, thin black wisps of smoke rising from each one of the western branches succeed. Automatic notice, unnatural cloud. There seems to be nothing unusual about the easternmost part of the canyon, but a closer inspection reveals a wonder of rooms. Several creatures inhabit the section. 2 clutches of belfers and a flock of coyotes call this place home. The evil creatures are hostile to anyone who is not of their kind, and the 2 groups frequently fight with each other. You slay both groups for XP. Pierced Canyon. The base of the walls of the Putah Canyon are pierced with saves, invisible mainly because of the billowing black smoke escaping from the opening. Lone Achiari. The northern branch of the canyon dead ends between rock formations. It's a huge creature of a colorful pilgrimage. The bird blue thing stands on powerful reptilian legs and appears out of place in a hostile terrain.
I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Belker's Grotto. The smooth stone of the valley floor becomes sharper and scraggier than near the canyon rock formations. Crowned to the ledge of the depression, forming an uneven circle some 50 to 70 feet around the canyon. A careful examination of the area reveals the mouth of a hole which opens into the ground. The natural grotto is hard to spot because its opening is surrounded by boulders.
Alright, I'm going to attack with my bow.
Alright, I cast
Flickering Belkers. A puff of dark gray smoke lingers on the northern edge of the canyon around the mound of rocks. From the distance, the smoke moves at an unearthly pace, as if swirling upon itself. 3 huge Belkers attack. In smoke form. You slay all of them.
Alright, I cast
Abandoned Gorge. This narrow gorge is difficult to notice. A hole opens in the ground amidst jagged rocks covering the ground of this area. The grotto is roughly 5 feet in diameter. A closer look reveals it as the mouth of a 30 feet deep yetical tunnel. Earthblood Fall. The easternmost branch of the canyon leads to a 60-foot wall smeared with an oily liquid. The substance is a deep color with speckles of red mixed, and it dips down from a hole in the wall some 30 feet above the canyon floor. The substance descends so slowly that it seems frozen in place. At the base of the wall is a pool of the same oily stuff. The open plain north of the canyon lies a plain running several miles north before merging at the base of the Black Mountain, the wide canyon that dominates the central plain. The rocky formations surrounding it resemble those of a scraggy stone around the greater canyon. Flatlands. North of the canyon and the cliff is a crown-shaped stone plain. There are no peaks or inclinations. Cutting through the valley and the plain goes until it meets the Black Mountain further north. The northwestern stretch of the valley is open. The flatlands have no plateaus or crevices aside from the ditch, and though the ground is not even, rising ever slightly as one travels north, its dusty surface as smooth as the strong winds have polished it for centuries. This area is claimed by the group of tomb Belkers. These creatures are too weak to challenge their kin dwelling, so they wander the flatlands and ensure they remain theirs, attacking anything crossing their path. You slay them. All bones. Bones are scattered around the dusty grounds of the plain. Closer examination reveals these remains once formed the skeleton of giants. The remains are from a cloud giant who perished centuries ago. The giant was Nakor's brother, who was killed by the mighty demon wind that now haunts. Nakor's sorrow at the loss of his brother had faded with the passing years. He remembers his brother fondly, respectful to giant horse's bones, and bring remains to Nakor. The giant's attitude automatically shifts 2 ranks towards helpful. The Hollow. To the northeast of the plain is a 50-foot deep ditch like the Great Canyon to the south. This hole is surrounded with jagged rocks. Like most creatures of its kind, the Zorn likes to dive in out of the ground and notices you approach and attacks you. You slay it in defense. It was an elder Zorn, which I can just imagine is like some sort of giant worm creature. I don't know. and the
Alright,
Barrows. The second half of this region is dominated by a group of twisted driders known as Spider Kings, who have constructed a small but impressive city that binds volcanic rock with web and spell to create a vile fortress. With the Barrows, the Driders rule, and absolute resistance is met with brutal force. The Driders brook no dissension amongst their peers, their drow slaves, relying upon spells and magical servants to enforce Makahanan will. Even so, rebellion brews. The drow plot against their masters, hiding away stolen poisons and blades, and looking forward to the day when they can seize control of the region. Society within the Barrows is the study in terror. The Spider Kings scheme against one another for domination over the kingdom, and their powerful sorcerers circle. This infighting produced a caste system with the Drider sorcerers at the pinnacle, their artisans next in line, and their warriors filling the lower ranks. Though far from influential, the warriors are cruel, as almost a quarter of their ranks are filled with creatures that survive the sorcerers' arcane experiments. These mutations are among the most twisted of the creatures found in the Barrows. The Spider King's drow slaves suffer greatly as experimental fodder. Repair crews within the region's most dangerous tunnels. The blood-scorched warriors and the Driders garish entertainments. Fortunately for any party visiting or taking prisoner here, the drow believe that any enemy of their enemy is a tool and a resourceful temporary ally within the slave ranks. The slaves are greater allies than they may at first appear. Unbeknownst to their masters, they have unlocked several eastern rooms, which they use as base of the rebellion. Further, use the drow as a conduit to reveal the Spider King's history, which is well known. Dark of lore, nearly 200 years ago, the drow ruled over a Drider slave class. When the Drider rose up against their masters but failed to seize power, they fled underground, taking over 30 captured drow with them. The Driders fled before the might of the drow vengeance, but even more so, they fled the dishonor that stained their relationship with their merciless goddess. For years, the Driders stumbled around the underground caverns searching for a new home. Many died on the journey, and others went. Their guiding force was their leader, Baya, who took charge of the situation, providing the redemptive drive his people needed to keep moving. Eventually, he delivered them to new greatness.
15.
The sharp end. As the forefront of the Barrows security, these passages test the living and recreation area of the most of the Spider Kings. Drider guards. These guards are powerful and utterly ruthless, favoring tactics that exploit the natural terrain and allow them to attack from distant hidden roosts. Fortunately for the party, the Drider Guard also suffer from the arrogance all too often reliving exclusively on the wardstones to alert them that intruders have penetrated their domain. Wardstone Fork. This corridor rises into darkness, forking left and right. The spat of the rock dividing the passage seems odd, though a cursory examination reveals nothing. A seemingly harmless fork in the corridor, as well as guarded both by the Driders and the drow to the south in the region, and by an enormous wardstone hidden within the near black volcanic rocks that divided the corridor. Unlike most other wardstones, the gigantic specimen creates two invisible stalkers. You fight both invisible stalkers and kill them. You gain XP.
I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Randomly point to this roughly egg-shaped chamber is lined with web-hardened volcanic earth. Its floor is thick with discarded webbing that crackles under your feet, and a stale musk permeates the air. The chamber opens into a passage forking to the west and into the winding tunnel to the southeast. Multiple passages lead away from this sparse chamber, or at least it looks like sparsely occupied at first. Silky pouches are cemented into the walls at the heights ranging from a few feet to nearly 60 feet. above the floor, and looking up you find wide silk hammocks hanging from the ceiling. The hammocks sway perversely under the weight of something falling upon them.
Alright. I'm going to attack with my
Wardstone. Twisting narrow passage widens, increases in height to accommodate a carved three-sided stone column rising 15 feet through the floor. The column surfaces are covered with runes that waver as if alive. Though you're sure it's just the stress of your journey, you're sure the stone is whimpering. Bloodletting chamber. The huge room before you is a travesty. Slung upside down upon stone bars are the corpses of dozens of centuries of creatures and human adventurers. All are slit open, drained of blood. Something has bled these victims dry and fed them from their slow death. As you shake off the chill that accompanies the grisly picture, footsteps approach from the shadows to your right. You're attacked by a powerful Drider, whose name is Trek.
15.
You slay him. XP. Chimney. The south wall of the bloodletting room collapsed or been dug out. A tunnel leads into the darkness, reeking of the stench of death. The tunnel and chimney are both highly unstable. You must make a successful reflex save.
Alright. I'm going to
Wriggle
attack
around
with my
inside. Chimney, fail. Tunnel or chimney, due to tight confines. Drow slave's corpse must be pulled out of chimney.
15.
Hall of Fury. Heat rises through this grand hallway, drawing beads of sweat out of the depths of your body. The environment cools off towards the far end of an intersecting southern corridor, leading you to believe that the source of the heat is a massive stone door set into the northern wall. A near-deafening roar floods into the area from behind the northern door. Fungus Garden. The rich smell of plowed earth clashes with the smell of decay in this chamber. Shapes spring from mounds bobbing in an invisible breeze. Broken Wardstone. The northern end of this burrow forks slightly, one path leading into a noisy chamber further to the north, and another path leading into another dim chamber, not unlike the one to the south. Central within the fork stands a ceiling, high pillar of roughly carved stone, its dull surface covered in worn runes. The floor and the walls of this chamber are pitted as if great combat once erupted here. Torture chamber. The center of the earthen chamber is a chamber of horror decorated with blackened iron chains dangling from the ceiling and unidentifiable flesh parts piled in corners. Beneath this layer of gore stands a hellish complement of torture. A powerful cloud of stinking copper clings to everything. Hanging upon each wall are multicolored hides bearing a symbol you don't recognize. The symbol appears to have seared into the flesh, while blood still pumped through its thin surface veins.
I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Alright. I'm going to attack
The Spider's Shadow. To the uninitiated, these chambers would be an epitome of terrible efficiency. Shackled drow slaves toil beneath the whips of their better brothers and sisters, those favored drow elevated to guard status for betraying errant slaves to the vicious Drider overlords. Every day drow vanish to the western tunnels. Here hope dies beneath the whip, yet a rebel movement blossoms to ensure their secrecy. The drow rebels let a few in their plans. The average slave knows nothing about a resistance. No slaves are beyond salvation and recognize this. The rebels protect their secrets to the grave. The secrets are kept even amongst the rebels. The distrust operates, assuming any intruders are doomed to incite the Drider's wrath. The slaves do nothing. All skills made to improve these slaves' dispositions consequently suffer circumstance penalty. The slaves respond well to proof of kind. Convictions, however, the penalty. Directly witness a party attacking the driders of drow guards. Should gain the slaves' trust, they gain allies. The slaves who are friendly. Information at their disposal. Stand guard. Critical to the cause.
15.
Helping drow will even fight along, though only when they are sure that they will either go free as a direct result of the current combat, or to save the PC's lives, or rescue them from the Spider Kings. Sanctuary. Burrowed out of the volcanic soil and reinforced with silky webbing, this passage looks almost pearlescent. The downward slope is gradual for the first 5 feet, but quickly steepens its end after 15 feet. The tunnel clogged wall to wall, floor to ceiling, and impenetrable webbing. Slave pit. The drider and drow guards automatically notice unless they declare they're hiding. Chamber size. This massive cavern is flooded with a steady amber glow of wide lava flow to the north and temperature. Here is barely tolerable for most of you. Dozens of shackled dark elves labor upon the wide plain before you under the watchful collection eye of several main spider and dark elf overlords stationed on surrounding ledges. The elves are the dire shape. Sanctuary Infirmary. Chaos hunts. Shackles of light. Within a shallow alcove, a waterfall trickles down from the ceiling, disappearing through eroded cracks in the floor. Bloodstains surround the cracks in the ceiling as if buckets of blood were splashed upon them without rhyme or reason. Before your eyes, a thin veil of water brightens until it becomes reflective, mirroring your party. Seconds later, the water splits into thick tentacles that spring out to wrap around your limbs. Another octopus fight, slay and kill. It's a chaos beast, kill it. Groaning passage, drow enclave guard post. Sentry platform, light of the Halcyon, visions of sin, reinforced doors laid out of this roughly square chamber to the north, south, and west. The room is unfurnished and unremarkable except for the simple wooden table and a dozen low-backed chairs. Warmth bathes you from beyond the western door, and moments after you enter, the eastern wall starts to glow, emitting images of your adventuring party fighting through the monstrous hordes in a deep dungeon. So, at this point, you have visions of everything you have previously imagined while I've been speaking. Visions of bliss. Reinforced wooden doors lead out of the square chamber to the north-southeast. Coats are notable positioned away from the wall. Here, several dark elves are asleep upon them. Warmth bathes you beyond the eastern door. Moments after you enter, the western wall starts to glow, emitting images of an adventuring party enjoying an evening at a kindly pub. The images begin just before you enter the dungeon, but quickly cycle backward in time to happier and happier moments. So now don't imagine anything I've been telling you to imagine. Don't imagine your imaginary character. Just try and imagine something happy. And or recall a happy moment if you have any from your life. If you have ever had a happy moment, recall one now.
I'm going to attack with my bow.
Otherwise, just don't even think about anything. Acid steam vent. The southwestern half of the room contains the ruins of a grand bedchamber. The northeastern half seemingly having broken away and fallen into a cavern. Steam rises collecting from the ceiling before dripping onto the remaining furniture. From the sizzling hiss rising from every surface, you get the impression that the steam is not merely evaporated water. Spy station. Delvadar's quarters.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wounds.
Sentries. Repelling door. Through the slave lords. Lethal beast. Spooked Drider guards. Spirit rubble. Wardstone. The wheel of sorrow. Slave pen. Noah's forge.
Alright,
Hot
I
spring.
cast Cure Lesser Wounds.
Theith's cave. Theith's lair. Elite Guard Nest. Random Encounters.
Alright.
The Spider
I'm
Kings.
going to
The
attack
Workshop.
with my bow.
Elator's Laboratory.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
15.
Nyala Quarters. Oh, and you fight Elator. He was a boss. Elator's Chambers, Meeting Hall, Slave Pit, Flesh Tome, Flesh Tomb, The Wanderer, The Way Out.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.
Alright.
And that was the
I'm
chasm.
going to attack with
You
my
are now
bow.
level 22. And far beyond badass. You're amazing. You're uncomprehendable.
15.
You are awesome. You are special.
Alright, I cast Cure Lesser Wound.